This is not a one size fits all situation. This is just a starting point for many of you out there. You can definitely modify this as per your needs. You can definitely swap out the provider or the report with block, whatever you feel like, and do subscribe. That makes this cow happy. Hi guys, welcome to Bucket, and in this video we'll be essentially be updating this existing template that we already have. Given my subscriber base, thanks a lot for giving me 40 stars, 50 folks. I'm very happy. Couldn't ask anything more than that. But now it's been 3 years and it's time we should upgrade this repository or completely come up with a new one. So this is the new repository that we have going on. From the previous one, what we are doing is we are swapping out HTTP with Duo because Duo brings a lot of flexible advantages and is more suitable for production ready applications. Secondly, we won't be using Flutter 2.0 anymore. We'll be using Flutter 3 because again, comes up with its own developer experience and a few more advantages. You don't have to write all the providers on your own, but again, it's your choice. We'll be sticking to Go Router. We'll be using FP.dart that we used previously as well. Right. Let us quickly understand the structure. Structure pretty much stays the same. You have a commons folder where all the common providers go, where all the common widgets go. Again, if you see any of these generated files, once you clone this code and you don't see any generated files, you can definitely go to the readme.md and generate all the files using this command. Right. Okay, so all the commons folder, that's all we have. Next, you get in the core folder. This contains the endpoint. You can of course argue key, why don't you just go and configure the base path in your within your DO object? That's because some applications use different what do we call different servers or different endpoints depending upon the feature. So it's just to keep that simplicity, right? Okay. Now let's go to the feature. Every feature gets its own folder. So what we did is we went to dummy.json. We took the recipes API and we integrated the recipes API just for an example. So you can definitely check out this dummy.json page, right? Okay, so within recipe, we have a controller, we have a repository, we have a state, we have view, and we have widget. Previously, the widgets folder lived inside views, but it's again the developer's choice. It's up to you. You can have it within the views, or you can have it separately outside the view as well. Okay, so if you go to the repository view page out here, right? So we have what we have is a scroll controller. The scroll controller is passed within the recipe list, or you can build the list here itself. What we chose to do is we chose to build a separate widget that has this list itself, right? Right, then we have a recipe list style. This recipe list style is what you see here within this recipe list. This is where you see the recipe list style, right? And this recipe list style is eventually LLM generated code, so nothing much to talk about here, right? Now if you go back to the controller, this is the controller that the view eventually watches. So this controller has a micro task that loads the recipes as soon as the controller is initiated. This is again a very efficient way to load the recipes in the beginning, right? And we have a retry option, and then we have an option to refresh whenever if there is something goes wrong and the lists are not, and we're not able to load the lists, we can eventually retry, or we can refresh if we need if you wish to get newer data. Okay, next we have the recipe repository. So this repository is built out there to make HTTP requests. Again, what you can do is you can either make HTTP requests or make to Firebase a request to the Firebase backend. So the endpoints are set like so. Every repository has its own endpoints, right? So we have recipe endpoints here, and this line ensures that nobody is able to create this object. So all you have to do is say recipe.string recipe.get recipes to get hold of this. Okay. What's more interesting over here is the base. So right now this base is pointed to this base, but like we discussed, if this feature has a completely different URL, we can place the different URL over here and it points to the newer URL, right? So that's pretty much about the control in the repository. And again, if you look at the state is pretty much this a portion of state management where you design states depending upon the UI, whatever you expect. Recipes, loading, not loading, max loaded, error message, all that stuff out here. Again, this is not a state management video, but still we can have a separate video if we wish to. Finally, we have models. Okay, models are a bit controversial. What you can do is you can place your models within your feature if your model is something that is being used in that feature itself, or if you believe your model is something like a user that is being used across the application. This can be a global folder or a model folder that's completely separately. Yes, finally we have the network. So we have a network status controller. This was just to build so that the user can know whether the application is connected to the internet or not. Next you have the network repository. This is actually responsible to make all the API calls, and as you can see, this works with DO. You can definitely swap out DO with HTTP. It's all up to you. And lastly, I've got resources. So this is a big difference from the previous template that we made, is because in the resources, all the assets were manually defined, but now we use a package called asset gen, I believe, asset gen or gen assets, something like that. Right. Okay. This is this package called Flutter Gen Runner. Right. This is the package that we use for generating assets. Right. Finally, you have the main, where you have got the provider scope and the application right into it, like so. And the utils folder where we have the router config. This is nothing new. This comes from the previous repository itself. All we had done is we have wrapped this within a Riverpod router. Again, this can be controversial. Some people like to wrap it with the router, wrap the router within the provider, or some people like to have it simply written as a global variable or a global object. But I like to prefer it have been inside a router because we don't want to create additional instances. Right, that's pretty much for the video, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching,